What is up? We got Mike Horton, Robert Durbin, John Adams, Mike Cotter. Good to see you, my friend. That looks like it says DP Works, which is a little bit scary. But we have Anthony Vella in the house with Rockwell Smith as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Welcome to the Ask Aviator podcast, episode number 2. This is Chris. Chris is here. I think he's a little terrified.
Yep, a little bit. Thanks for inviting me.
So Chris Garrison is our new school manager. He started work about, I guess, 3 months ago. You came and hung out with us,
yep.
And then we tried to beg you to stay, and
yep.
you finally listened.
Slowly pulled in, inch by inch, but now I'm here and dedicated.
It's kind of like the really creepy cult that you promised your parents you never join, and now you're here.
Yep.
So we're going to take some time to talk about just who Chris is, what we're doing here, what the last week has been like. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to talk about some of Chris's history, because the dude has got a pedigree that is longer than an elephant schlong. I think that's probably the most professional way I can say
That's
it.
impressive.
His last boss was way cooler than me, which is not hard to do, but he's pretty resilient and amazing, and able to smoke joints on streams and pull it off, which is
yep.
pretty cool.
Yep.
But just to say hi to some more folks, we got Thomas Caballos, Dave Nickerson.
Dave Nickerson,
dude,
very good.
David, you guys trained together, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
no, he was in one of my classes.
One of your classes. Yep. So you're like me. You had to take multiple classes.
Yep. Yep. Taking a handful now.
A handful.
I think I'm actually starting to get it.
Well, you're more than just getting it. I'm going to do my best to give a basic introduction to who Chris is and what he's about. But before I jump into that, I want to first apologize for being late. Guys, we had to switch computers and cameras and everything last minute. We've added more lights, so let us know if it looks good. Does that look good? Johnson Q, what is up? Yankee and SC, good to see you. Cameron Black, great to see you, brother, man. We are trying to get all this stuff together, kind of banter for a few minutes with the crowd, let them know kind of what to expect, because quite frankly, it takes a few minutes for people to get here when they get the notification. So we'll dive into more about what you've done, who you are, and what you're doing for Aviator, because I talked about it some in the last stream, and Travis alluded to it as well, is that without the new team that we brought on, the people who have such an incredible amount of experience, and not just experience, but care for the sport, care for the Aviator family as a whole, there's no way he could have left. He would have been 94 years old and still trying to help me write this thing and keep it going. So it's because of guys like you and Alex and Mary and Nina, John, Catherine. It's this team of people, and then we've got the Fletches and the Rosses and the Rons and everybody else. We all support each other, and we all work really hard to try to drive that support for the students. And so I wanted to bring you on here as the second episode, which I know is kind of weird for you, but I want to tell your story because it's incredible. Let's see if there's anybody else watching that I need to go through here. John Adams says, too much light. Too much light. We're turning the lights down. This is actually great for us.
Yes, much better.
We're going to look kind of blue, but that's okay. Is it the overhead light? Let's take a look. I can't see it, guys. So I'm relying upon our team to tell me what we need to do.
Crazy glare right here.
Well, let's kill the overhead light real quick. We can pull that plug right there, and we'll see if that makes it look better. We'll get a softbox on it for tomorrow. It's this one right here, boss. It's here. I can't reach it. Where is it plugged into? It went through the roof. We've done so much setup on this, guys. Like, literally, there are 6 people in this office trying to get we call this the war room. We had 6 people in here on ladders, 2 of us at a time on ladders. We broke every OSHA regulation in the book. Let's boost these back up then. Perry Malter, good to see you, sir. Long time. Rod Gunn, nice to see you. We have some issues with focus, apparently. Let's take a look at the focus, and we'll jump in. But, guys, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it very much. I know that it's late. We're getting together. We've got our special coffee. Salute.
Cheers.
It's kind of hard to drink through the microphone, though. It's like, Backlight on the floor.
Good coffee.
If the backlight on the floor is overexposed, we can fix that. You tell us, Anthony. Mark, glad it's working. All right, so let me tell you guys a story. I'm going to let the rest of the team answer everything else and kind of fix things around us, and we're just going to ignore them and have a conversation.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. So, a lifetime of flight, without a question.
Yep.
Passionate aviator from a very early age. I want to start later in life because I want to start when I met you.
Okay.
So something a lot of people don't know about me is that I have this deep appreciation for engineering and art. I always have. And you know this. We've discussed this. When you walked into class, I literally walked into class. The first thing I said to him was, Chris, nice watch.
Yep.
You know, and so we bonded over watches because I've always loved fine watches. I mean, he's rocking a GMT. I've got the Omega Speedmaster that I bought from Chris because I'm cheap, and we bonded over that, and it was really neat to see kind of what your artistic eye was and what you valued, and immediately started talking about Breitlings and different watches you had, your father had, and what brought you to it. And then I found out what you did for a living. And I was like, okay, wait, what? Because I just finished, like 2 weeks before, I'd finished not the autobiography, but the biography of Elon Musk.
Yep.
And this guy right
Awesome
here
book.
used to be one of his right hands. He won't accept the praise probably, but he was one of the launch directors for SpaceX. And you worked where?
At Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, Pad 40.
Pad 40.
Yeah. And
What are some of the big milestones? I want to dive into all the things, but like working at Pad 40, working in a place where you're within eyesight of where the Apollo 1 astronauts died and where dozens of rockets exploded, and so much history and passion and the stuff that we as aviators have longed for. I mean, my whole life I wanted to be an astronaut. Like, it was such a passionate thing for me because I watched my grandfather, you know, after he did it, but I watched the people adore him and see his passion for flying and going to the moon. And I could just imagine like being in that place of Hollywood history. What did it feel like?
It was pretty cool. I originally interviewed with Elon in 2008. I had no idea who he was. I just knew he had a lot of money. I knew that he had done the PayPal deal, and that's about it. Nobody knew anything about SpaceX at the time. No one knew about Tesla. And during the interview, I saw one of the original Tesla clay models that was in
Really?
the back of the hangar.
Was that the Roadster or the Model S?
It was the Roadster.
The Roadster.
Yeah, it was a clay model in the back under a tarp inside of a hangar. And
That's insane. Who were you working for at the time?
before I transferred,
Yeah.
I was working with my dad doing commercial construction.
And then
Design
before
build.
that was Grumman?
Or Raytheon.
Raytheon. I'm
Uh-huh,
I'm a
Rockwell.
very bad listener, apparently.
That's okay.
I should know this by now. So we realized at Aviator that our training was really good and people really liked it and people wanted to come and train here. And so we figured the only way to make it better was to bring a freaking rocket scientist in to fix it. So Chris joined us officially last month,
Yep.
full time. You've been helping out with different classes and being a part of the team, kind of learning to teach, because you only learned to fly, what, 4 or 5 months ago?
5 months ago.
And now that's a weird thing to say. So when I first started teaching people how to fly paramotors, I'd been flying for 5 months. And there was a huge backlash in the industry. Like my instructor, a whole bunch of other people, my instructor who gave me 2 flights and my PPG-2 and said, you're good to go.
Yep.
And a whole bunch of the people in the industry, like, you shouldn't be teaching, blah, blah, blah. But it's really remarkable because you and I have almost exactly the same history. In 2002, I got my instructor rating to teach ultralights fixed wings.
Yep.
I was passionate about sharing aviation. I loved that process of helping people learn to fly. You have almost the same story. Yep. So before we dive into more questions and everything else, tell me, from a childhood perspective, all the way up to what made you want to come and learn to fly butt fans, what's your history with aviation? What drew you here, and why are you staying?
When I was 15, my father was building an ultralight, and I was so enamored. I wanted to be such a part of it, and so I tagged along, and through the process, I got hooked up with a flight instructor, started taking lessons, and I got my private pilot's license on my 17th birthday. I was literally just waiting for that
That's
day.
one area where we differ, because I waited 15 years because I hate tests.
Yep. And I just kept flying. I was flying ultralights at the same time. I got my commercial rating at age 19. I was active. I flew skydivers for a couple years at Titusville Parachute Center. And
What airplane were you flying there?
182.
182, okay.
Yeah, 182 and a 206.
No Twin
as well.
Otters? Come on, man.
No.
That was my high school life, was the Twin
owner,
Otter.
The owner flew the big, nice airplanes.
Yeah, they
We had
like to do that, those
We had
jerks.
we had a Beaver and an Otter.
Nice. I always loved the Beaver. I've always thought that was like one of the... Was it Turbine Beaver?
No.
No? Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
even better.
Yeah.
I hear jokes from behind the audience over here, so don't mind them. Sorry. So you fly in jumpers. You're 19 years old. How does and it's not to negate any skydive pilots or anybody else, but it's kind of a cult too. When you get involved in the skydive community, which I did when I was 14 years old, I basically moved to this airport where we're sitting right now. I was 7 doors down in hangar number 2, and I fell in with all the skydivers. And I hung out at the campground. I drank at the bar. I flew and looked for free bags. How does a guy like that, who's had the passion for aviation, convert that into an engineering degree and then a ridiculous, I mean, really, your pedigree is insane. Like, your experience going to work for freaking Elon Musk, who's one of my heroes, is intriguing to me. So how did that transpire?
Basically, I had some aviation friends, and they worked for Rockwell. I got a job with Rockwell. I was still pretty young, and I was working as a machinist, and I was interacting with engineers, and my observation was these guys aren't that smart. And they get paid like 4 times what I was earning as a machinist.
Right.
And so I started taking classes at night. And in the meantime, I had my ultralight instructor's rating, so I was doing that as well. And
you were
then
teaching a drifter, right?
I was a Max Air drifter, yeah.
They used to build those at Lake Wales Airport.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a cool
Yeah.
history lesson.
I actually
there.
flew here. That's where I got my training and my
Really?
certification.
Who gave you your training?
Um,
It wasn't Phil. It was somebody else?
it wasn't Phil. It was... oh, shoot. I can't think of his name. Jeff?
Phil keeps threatening to come learn to fly with us.
Yeah.
I keep telling him, like, you got to do it.
Jeff was his name, but he worked for Phil. And at that time, it was, 96.
Okay.
That's when I bought my first paramotor. And
Wait, what? I haven't heard this story.
You haven't heard this
No.
story?
So, hey, really quick, guest mic needs to be turned up a bit, apparently. Continue.
Sun and Fun.
Okay.
So let me back up a little bit. So started flying skydivers, and after I resisted for about maybe 4 or 5 months, and then I got talked into doing my first tandem. They said first one's free.
Oh, Lord.
And that was a bad move, because then I started jumping, and
Yep.
then at the end of the
It's
weekend,
basically drugs.
instead of making money, I was still paying the owner. So
Right.
it was a pretty bad scene.
That's like I say, that's the cult of skydiving.
And that's when I saw my first paramotor, and I thought, man, would it be cool to take off and fly up to where these guys are getting under canopy around
Right.
2,000 feet, and then fly back down with them, and then go
Right.
back up again. And so I was at Sun and Fun, and sure enough, there was these 2 French guys, and they had 2 paramotors.
Adventure or La Moet? Do you remember?
The manufacturer was called Jet Pocket, or Pocket Jet.
Pocket Jet. This is way before my time. I was 10 years old in
This thing was
1996.
heavy, wooden propeller.
Right?
And
Like 115
and I
pounds.
bought it for $5,000.
5,000 US in 1986, which is equivalent to about 500,000 now.
I had no clue what I was doing, and I received no training whatsoever, other than he did a couple demos for me, and at the field, and he said, no first flights at
Right,
the
because
field.
that's dangerous.
Good luck. And at the time, there was no internet and no support, and I don't know anyone who was flying
Oh my
in this
Lord.
area. So I went home, and I bet you I made like 20 attempts to get into the air.
What kind of glider were you
And-
flying? Do you remember?
I remember it had 21 cell openings, and it had
21.
Yeah.
That's one of those big ones. It's not
Yep.
like the skydive canopies with 9.
No,
Right,
this
right.
it was very elliptical.
For the people who don't know, the average cell opening size now is probably at least 60. At least 60. Like a beginner wing has 48, I think. The free ride has 66 or 72.
Yeah.
So you had 12 openings.
21.
21. Sorry.
21.
I might be dyslexic.
Yep.
I'm going to just really quickly ask the crowd, would you guys prefer that overlight on or not? This is a learning experience, guys. We are learning. This is Aviator chill mode. This is not like professional videos. This is us trying to figure out what we should do. So as we go through this, the backlighting's too harsh. We pull the backlight. We'll turn on the overlight really quick. Alex will grab that, I think. And we will see what you guys think, if we should have the overlight to separate us from the background or not. Because we want to learn from this. We have like mighty plans and things we'd like to have happen. So that's like bright overhead, yellow fill, blue fill, light in the background. If it looks good, tell us. To answer Yankee and SC1, who Yankee trained with us. No, Yankee didn't train with us. Yankee is an airline pilot who had a Cessna 210, sold a Cessna 210, self-trained, probably the most extensive self-training ever, and documented the entire thing. Super good dude. You'll meet him at Sun and Fun, most likely. So here you are with a 21 cell. Got it right this time.
Yep.
glider, 20 attempts to fly after you've been trained.
70-pound-ish, maybe 75-pound
Was
motor.
it the Solo 210 that was on it? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
I wonder if that was either that or a Hearth, probably.
Probably a Hearth.
Little
I don't
baby
really
Hearth.
know, to be honest. And it had fixed bars that came over top and toggled down.
Right,
and
so the
with
big
carabiners.
overhead
Yeah,
jigs. Yep.
yeah. And
They said no
all
lights,
I
by
knew
the
was
way.
to hold the lines and run. That's
Okay.
all I knew. That's all the instruction that I basically got
So
from.
that's basically what we do here. Is just hold.
Oh
the
yeah,
lines
it
and
was
run.
really simple. And after I don't know 15 or 20 flight attempts, I actually got into the air, and that's where I had no clue what to do. I thought that skydiving, flying a wing, that I
Right.
would just be in control. I was terrified,
It's scary.
absolutely terrified. I had this high horsepower motor on my back and just launched into the sky.
And now the oscillations begin. And
Yep. Yep. But I was able to get it around the field, bring it back in for a landing. The only thing that I actually felt like I controlled well was the landing itself.
Okay.
It had a lot of flare authority.
Oh, so much more than
and-
the skydive canopy.
Yep.
Even with 21
Yep.
cells, it's
And
like massive.
So that was awesome. But my takeoffs, it was literally like a crapshoot. Every time
Right.
I went to fly, it always required 2 other people to help me, which became my cheering or laughing
Right.
crew.
I resemble that very well. I have a story for you about that.
I think I flew it a total of about 12 or 14 times,
Okay.
and I owned it for a year. So if that gives you an idea,
That's
I
like
was
the
so
average paramotor
excited
pilot.
about it, but I just sequentially just got more and more
Frustrated.
frightful of, fearful.
Frightful?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because I did turtle it once, and that's when my buddy sat there and laughed at me, and yeah, it was quite the experience.
We talk a lot about in our training that first day. We talk a lot in our. So for those people who don't know, excuse me, I have a throat thing, and a lung thing, and a person thing. But we talk a lot in our trainings about that first 3 hours. In my opinion, is the most valuable 3 hours of our class. Whenever we have an alliance member that wants to come and learn to teach how we teach, I tell them, I say, like, the most important thing we do is the first 3 hours, where we get to know the students, they get to know us, that we get to share our expectations, we get to help them understand what it's going to feel like, look like, how it's going to shift their perspective as a person. We really do a lot just to try to help encourage understanding of what's going to happen next, what's going to come next. And one of the things we talk about is how it shifts your perspective of success, how it shifts your perspective of challenge, how it changes you fundamentally as a core. And there's a lot of pilots watching right now, people who've flown, and I think that aside from the sociopaths, which
Yes.
they definitely
There's
exist,
a handful of them. Yep.
I think every one of you guys would agree that there is something in this that really shifts your humility.
It's very, very humbling.
Yeah, and it shifts your perspective of what's possible. To reflect your story, I'll go back to a quick story. My second flight. Excuse me. I hate my lungs right now. I took off. It was a narrow runway. My first flight was my 26th attempted launch. My instructor at the time would not let me launch the gear that I had. He made me launch a 1996 design glider
That's
in
what I had.
2012.
Yeah.
And I think it was built in 98, so it was much newer. And
High tech.
Oh, high tech. And he had me launch this thing, and I tried over and over and over again. And he wanted to go do some training on how to tow. And so we went to this community in LaBelle, Florida, and it was like a road with trees on the sides and ditches beside the road. And I didn't want to go. I had my wife and my child there. At that point, I only had one child, August. He was 4 months old. We're staying in a hotel room, which, by the way, hotel room, 4-month-old, no.
Bad planning.
So much no.
Yeah.
So we go to this crappy development area, which actually is a really cool place. They call it Neverland Flight Park now, and they have a ton of the paraglider community have bought like little plots and put their trailers up and built houses, and it's really cool. But for a paramotor pilot, I was just like, I want a big field. I want something that's
Yes.
safe and easy.
Yep.
And every time I'd inflate, the wing would turn to the right 10 degrees. I'd be in the ditch. I'd have to stop. And so 26 attempts, finally got in the air on the 27th. We went back to the airport, which is also a narrow strip.
Yep.
And I think it was, I don't remember how many launch attempts it was, honestly. I have no idea. I was terrible. Spoiler alert, that I'm terrible. But I took off, and as a fixed-wing pilot, like I was a pretty experienced fixed-wing pilot. I've been a test pilot since I was 16 years old, flying ultralight experimentals. I had an instructor, Jonathan Hardwick, God bless you, brother, who would sign me off for pretty much anything. He was like, listen, I've flown with you. I know you can fly. If you tell me you're good, we'll make it work. And so I was flying to California to test fly brand new experimentals. Never been flown before. I'm 16 years old. Like, I have no pilot's license. I'm a student pilot. And I was an accomplished-ish student pilot. Like, I never want to make it sound like I was great, but I'd never done poorly at something in aviation. And I was terrible.
Then you got humbled.
Yeah, so humble. And not only that, but I'll never forget, they had these Australian pines on the south side of the runway. And I launched going west, and I start veering toward these Australian pines because the torque of my motor would turn me to the left, right? And I'm veering toward them, and I realized that I had no idea, like no clue what to do. I was like, I know I can pull right, but I've been told by my instructor, like, don't pull right because you're going against the torque. You can't turn right. Basically, he said, don't turn right. And it was a low power motor, so it really was no issue, except that the entire harness was set up opposite, so it was making me turn more left. And so I'm like oscillating into this. I'm like, this is terrifying. And this is not the way it should be. This is not the experience that a pilot should have. And then fast forward about 3 months, I started flying every day. My third flight was a full power crash into blackberry bushes because the torque compensation was wrong. And then I started trying to help my brother and my friends learn how to fly a paramotor because it became something I was so impassioned by. It's something that beat me. I'd never been beaten before like this, so physically destroyed. I'd lost 22 pounds my first year flying.
Wow.
And I was like, I have to find a way to be better than this because nothing in aviation had always been the one safe place. Because like my nickname in high school was Goon. Right, I was 6'4", 135 pounds at my heaviest.
You stuck out.
I stuck out like a sore thumb, and I wanted to do something that made me special. And flying was it for me. I was a homeschool high school dropout.
Same here.
You know, exactly.
I was the oddball.
Well, it's your investment in shaving products, I think, is it?
Yeah.
But no, so I worked every day. I flew over 500 hours my first year. I kited every chance I got, and I started sharing it with other people. And I realized I didn't want to give that experience to other people that I had. I didn't want it to be slapstick. I didn't want it to be something that was piecemeal and foolhardy.
Yeah, you wanted it to be methodical.
Yeah, and so the whole process was created slowly but surely. Thank you all to all my early students. You guys are freaking amazing because the thing to me is that as we have built this, we're always learning. And you guys keeping up with us on this podcast and being willing to deal with camera issues and everything else, thank you. But decided it's all back in. So, by the way, I'm slightly ADD. You know this.
Just a little bit, but you're getting around there. You'll be back. I know.
So Aviator started because we wanted to build a methodical training program. I had this idea in my head that we would have a showroom, like you would walk into, and it would look like a Honda motorcycle shop or Ducati, right? You go in there, and you'd have somebody greet you, and they'd be like, "Hey, what do you want to ride?" Right?
That's awesome.
And so we did that, and it was awesome. And I learned to fly well, and I worked really hard at it. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, aside from marriage and parenting, which thank you, Danielle, thank you, my children. They make it easy, but it's still hard. But paramotoring is the hardest thing I ever did physically and mentally. And the thing that I wanted to circle back to from about 7 minutes ago when I started this story was how it changes your perspective of what is possible, what is attainable, and how I'll never forget when my wife first saw me trying to kite, and she said, "Don't worry, honey, I'll untangle the lines."
Awesome.
Because I would rage. If anyone has been around, which there's a few people in the chat right now who've watched my progression from 8 years ago, making video game YouTube videos and skydiving and flying, to where we are today, my frustration level as an ADD kid was really high. And having 300 lines, if you count the upper risers, to overcome was diabolical for me. And what paramotoring taught me was way more than just how to fly, way more than just how to adventure, way more than to have a device to go and see the world from a new perspective. It has constantly humbled me and encouraged me to be a more patient, more courteous person. And I actually am going full circle, and I'm proud of myself. I remembered it. This is part of why I was so encouraged to have you join our team because who you are as a person, your engineering mind, your ability to understand complex problems and solve them and bring them into something important perfectly fits with what every student needs. I relate oftentimes students, like I teach my 3-year-old, she's now 4, the exact same emotional systems as I teach a flying student because we're related to our fight or flight self when we're
Sure.
learning to fly. And what you've been able to help us with is in the last month, you've helped us systemize even more. What Travis and I have developed was fantastic, and it worked really well. And like, it's not a cocky thing. I hope it doesn't come
No.
off that way. It worked really well. It drew you in.
It drew me in, and it was awesome.
And we're going to go back to that.
Awesome
We're going to talk
experience.
about why you came here. But what we're doing now is so much more. With our learning management systems, with your help, Ron Tran's help, and a whole lot of other instructors, what we're trying to do is systemize how everything works so that we can create the same experience for everyone that actually has more value and more purpose. And I love what you've done with it so far. He showed me a spreadsheet today that was freaking beautiful. Like, here's the pages of the PPG Bible. Here's the pages of the syllabus. Here's the videos that accompany it. Here's how we systemize it so every instructor knows everything that has to be taught. Oh, by the way, this is day 1, hour 2 through 4. Day 3, hour 6 through 7. Here's how we create a symbiotic experience that really relates, because our goal has always been to build an aviator family. And if you don't get the same experience across the board, whether it's with us or
Yep.
Alliance members, you are really put in a position where you feel like you've been left out. And we never want that. So, anyway, my next question, because I took about an 8-minute long monologue, oh my
That's
God,
okay.
is to ask you, from deciding that being the guy building stuff wasn't making enough money, taking night school classes, being a commercial pilot for skydivers, being an instructor pilot for ultralights, going to work for Elon Musk. Elon, I keep calling him Elon. I would love to hear you tell a story about your experience, your trip to Elon's cubicle, and then how that life was there. Because I think that a lot of the people in here most likely could find some value in understanding what it's like to work for Elon Musk, and am I that bad or that good?
Gotcha. So let's see, 2008, I flew out to LA and went and interviewed with Elon. He's sitting in the middle of a cubicle world in his own cubicle. He believed that nobody should have a office and nobody should have walls.
Except for HR.
Except for HR. That was the only person who had an office. And so I sit down with him, and I felt like I had about 10% of his attention. Because
Really?
he kept turning around and typing on the computer. And but I realized just within the first maybe 5-10 minutes, he's intensely technically intelligent.
He's
And,
actually frightening. Reading his book, it seems frightening
right.
how smart
He's
he is.
not just a money guy. He's a real technical guy. He's a napkin engineer where he can calculate things mostly like orders of magnitude. That's the way he sees things differently. When he talks about things, he doesn't look at like, oh, how much would that cost to manufacture? He looks at like, how much raw materials of aluminum does that have in it? How much, whatever. How much composite materials? He looks at raw. As far as labor, he just figures that's in-house. We'll figure that out.
Right.
It's not, he doesn't look at like the expense of a contractor, because he just feels like he'll pull that work in himself and do it.
And I saw that in his book. He was constantly looking toward contractors and speaking to them about like what their expectations were, how soon they could have something done. And he said, well, if you can't do it by X date, I'll do it myself, and you're out of
Yep.
business.
Yep, and that's what he did.
That's staggering. I as much as I want to identify with a man who's that successful, I don't think I'm nearly harsh enough. I feel like I would so much rather support Christoph and Tech to Fly and
Yep.
Matteo at Federazzi and like encourage their growth as a company and all grow together. But it's kind of cutthroat what he does, but it's also really brilliant, and it's hard to, like, for me as a CEO, it's hard to justify where is the balance of what do you. He really doesn't have the balancing act. He is like dollars, cents, numbers, and time.
Yep.
Zero emotion.
Real simple.
And I can't do that. So
Yep.
I respect the heck out of it. And it's something
Yep.
that Travis was really good at. Travis was able to displace emotion much better than I am, because I really, not that Travis doesn't care about people. Sorry. Should be very clear. It's just that we have different abilities on emotions. And I was always impressed by his ability to control the emotional outcome and slowly look at the logic. And that's one of the things that I respect about you, and it's one of the reasons why you're such an asset to the team, is you're able to, not to follow in Elon's footsteps, but that you look at all the different elements and the algorithms and consider the engineering side of it versus I'm just a kid who grew up in a ministry who wants to serve people and help people fly, which is, I guess, a noble pursuit, but both.
Elon's quite the rebel.
Really?
Yeah, he doesn't want to do things the way things had been done, especially in the space industry. He didn't
When he
want
reuses rockets, that's kind of a big deal.
He didn't want he didn't want to follow anything in NASA's footsteps. He considered the space shuttle, which was supposed to be a reusable aircraft, spacecraft. He considered that a complete failure. He wasn't
Really?
He was not interested in hiring any space shuttle engineers. He wanted engineers that had no experience, and nothing was taboo. So when we met in meetings and we talked about like how we're going to how we're going to supply a certain commodity, nothing was taboo to say. Best idea won. And
That's be almost terrifying to be in that position where you're like, I have to say the thing that everyone's gonna hate.
And people would say outlandish things, and then it was like throughout the meeting, someone would say, "Well, maybe that would work," and then Elon would be like, "Well, let's invest a little money and see if it will work."
Right.
A lot of cool stuff came out of that.
That's kind of been the goal with Aviators. We want to be the SpaceX of the paramedic community. We want to take the time, make the investment. Like it's been hilarious this week. We've had people who are lauding praises on us for our helmets. So like, oh, this helmet does everything I ever wanted to do. And then we have the vocal majority who are like, this helmet's insane. And I'm like, guys, listen, like I was really specific in the video, so was Travis, that this helmet is for a super niche customer. And if you want the standard helmet that's $200 more than the Icaro, that has better vents, that has better audio, mind you, my opinion, not absolutes, like this is the helmet for you. But I think it's an outrageous price. It's insane. I don't have an NDA, but I feel like it would be unscrupulous to say exactly what we pay for the helmets. I'm willing to say on camera, hi guys, hi mom. If you buy a deluxe helmet through one of our dealers, we clear something around $50. All right, so it's not a cheap helmet to make. But I think that the important thing for us, and this is something you've always ascribed to as well, and when we came into the business, was that we were willing to make the investment, whether it's financial or time, whether it's to our students' benefit or to the entire sports benefit. We want to create something that really encourages growth, because we want to have better pilots, safer pilots, more educated pilots, and we want to have a better relationship with the government and with the community, period. It's why we sponsor Little League. We want to have the community love us. We're about to release a video about our Mardi Gras flying, where we were flying around a freaking Mardi Gras parade, because we want the community to understand that everything we do in our local communities reflects on all of us. It's not just what we do here to fly for a Mardi Gras event. It doesn't reflect on Aviator. It reflects on the entire community of paramotor pilots worldwide.
Yep.
So someone like Elon being willing to throw cash down, which we don't have.
100 million of his own money.
Okay, so that's like 100 cents of my own. We spend a lot of money trying to develop things that are safety conscious, whether it's the strobes or everything else, but we're never going to be in that ballpark. I don't say never, but it's very unlikely. But I think it's really inspiring, especially to see where you came from with your experience in aviation, and then your passion for flight in general, your desire to understand engineering, becoming one of the lead launch directors. I heard some stories from Ross Gassaway, who will be a future guest here. He got to go to the assembly building to watch a launch.
Yep, the vehicle assembly building.
Who was he there with?
He was with a friend of mine, engineer that I taught to basically replace me.
Right.
During launch ops, we all put on different hats at SpaceX, and we all assume our roles. Some people go to the control room. Some people just go away. But I was stuck with the responsibility of rolling the vehicle out, getting it pinned, bringing it erect, prepping all the systems.
That sounds kind of kinky.
Yeah,
I like it.
it is kinky. It's actually pretty scary. And then getting all the systems that are super dangerous up and running and cocked and loaded, all the way to the point where we test everything for the last time on the pad with a very limited number of people, and then we would do actual pad exit, fall back with a red crew to an area that's inside the blast area.
How close were you?
I don't know the exact distance, but we were too close for comfort.
Shaky?
Yeah.
So Ross describes this to me, and he comes back. So the night of our last podcast, I think it was, maybe? No, it's before that.
Yeah.
Ross was here, and he said, listen, like, Chris is getting me the hookup. I'm going to SpaceX. I'm going to go sit at the NASA assembly building where they built the Saturn V rockets.
Yep.
They put everything together. I'm going to go there and watch this launch.
Yeah, that was a Pad 39 launch.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he says, Eric, do you want to come? And I said, yes, I would really, really like to come, but I have children, and the launch is at 3:24 a.m., and we have to teach tomorrow morning. So no. But then he sent me videos, and I was super jealous. And then he came into this room. We call this the war room, like we talked about earlier. This is the room where all the warehouse stuff goes in and out. And he said, Eric, you won't believe what Chris's protege says about him. And I was like, all right. He said, like, you don't understand all the stuff that Chris has done. He said, basically, Chris is the last guy on the rocket that, like, is trying to make sure it's not going to blow up. And then he runs as fast as he can, like his little, panther legs, and chases across the launch pad, then dives into the socket, like the little manhole cover, and, like, closes it down. And that's what you taught your protege to do. And he
Not
was
quite like that, but yes, in theory.
I mean, that's how it was described to me.
We're
So I'm
the
gonna
last
believe
ones
it.
to see the rocket. We're the last ones to touch it.
So, can you compare that, in essence, to what it's like to launch a paramotor student for the first time? Sorry,
That's
very small leap of judgment.
That's an interesting. Yeah, so the amount of responsibility at SpaceX when you have a 18-man crew and you're moving this huge vehicle that you can't see all the aspects of it because you're too close to it, and terrifying. And that's why they picked me, because I had a sense of calmness that other people didn't. And
your personal nature is so incredibly graceful, and also one of the reasons why literally the week of your training I said I wanted you to come work for us.
Yep.
Is that you have the ability to not just be graceful and to be calm, but you have such empathy. And for me, that's what Aviator was founded on, was empathy. We were founded on the idea of trying to help others, and your balance of empathy. And we're going to bring some of our past students from this last week's class just in a little while to talk about it. But, like, your ability to care for people is incredible. So if you can care for a rocket, or you can care for people, you can probably care for a rocket, I guess.
That was the connection I was making.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically at SpaceX, it was just the ability to methodically think through issues, especially when we had to re-enter the pad and we had liquid oxygen flowing, and we'd have to solve leaks or pumps that were bad while the vehicle was tanked or partially tanked. That ties over. And to answer your question, so it was a real eye-opener the first time I had a student looking me in the eyes and running towards me, and you can just see the terror. It brings you to a quick stop, and at the same time you feel so responsible for their every move. And
there's a split responsibility. We have without question, we have to prepare, we have to educate, we have to plan. And oh my gosh, wait till you guys see our new simulator. We have so many cool stuff, like so many cool things coming. Like Anyway, we have to prepare people well, but there's never any way to prepare for what a student's reaction will be about running to the sky the first time. And being able to show that level of empathy and that level of responsibility is so crucial. And you have that in spades. I don't know where you were going. I interrupted the heck out of you. I'm sorry.
No, that was it. That was the connection I was making.
But I think it's a big part of why, from day 3 of your training, I tried to get you to come work for us.
Yep.
And it's one of the cool things I think we have an opportunity with now is, and this is something that I encourage all of you guys to look into, is we're hiring instructors, and we're not hiring instructors that have 5 years experience. Nope. We're hiring people who have a deep desire to learn.
Qualities.
Exactly.
Looking for qualities.
A deep desire to learn, deep desire to share, a deep desire to understand every person that comes through. I think as a paramotor instructor, we're 90% psychologist, 5% middle school teacher, elementary school teacher, and 5% expert.
Being able to read people is super important.
Absolutely, because it looks really easy to learn to fly a paramotor, but the most difficult stuff to handle is the stuff between your ears, because you have to overcome your fears, which is part of what makes flying paramotors so powerful, is that we get to overcome our fears.
Very much so.
And that's an incredible experience. So just to go full circle back, because we're at about 40 minutes. Obviously, you learned to fly paramotors on your own-ish many years ago.
Yes.
You were flying skydivers. You're flying instructor pilot in a Max Air Drifter. You retired from SpaceX 2 years ago, and I'd actually, you don't need to get into personal details, but I'd love to kind of share some of your experience working for SpaceX and how it's different here, as far as vacations and cancellations and what drove you as a person then. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to understand what drew you to Aviator to learn to fly, because you're an accomplished pilot. I mean, guys, just to put this in perspective for you, the guy hadn't flown fixed wing aside from a quick flight in the Cub, a quick flight in the 120. He got connected with an instructor last week in the 120 again, and he got re-endorsed for his recurrency, his biannual. He got endorsed for a tail wheel, which you never had before, did you?
No.
So he had a tail wheel endorsement.
I had tail wheel experience, just not the endorsement.
But it's been how many years?
18. 17.
18 years, and in 1 hour, you did all of those things, which, like, just so you guys understand, average humans, not 1 hour. Okay, like not even close to 1 hour. So walk us through what led you to retire, and what led you to Aviator to learn to fly, and how it's made you, like, how it's changed your life so far in 5 months.
SpaceX was very high stress, and I was there for a little over 8 years, and in the first 4 or 5 years, I saw a lot of really good people burn out just because you spend all your time there. And that's one thing Elon is extremely demanding, and he expects perfection and performance. And if you don't have that same passion that he has, then, as he says, you will experience reduced tenure. And
that's a very nice way of putting it, I guess.
Yes. So
is it like that at Aviator so far?
No, I don't feel that pressure. I actually, to the contrary, I feel family, and I feel a lot of love. I feel a lot of concern. You know, people that work here are concerned about others,
and it's just
support.
The people who work here. It's the people who come through here. I don't know how it is. I feel like it's magic. I feel like we're able to draw people in who look so much deeper than themselves. Like, I've had students this week pull me aside and be like, "Eric, you look really stressed. Are you okay?" And it's like, well, Travis is leaving, and I have to make sure everything's working properly and that we're serving everyone, and like everyone cares for each other. And I think that's one of the most incredible things.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know all the students that come through here, and the people that come back, the groupies, and they all are living it. They feel it. They feel the love.
We need a new name for groupies. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You guys have any ideas? Well, nothing else. Tell the story of what made you want to learn to fly paramotors again.
So, when I left off and I ended up selling my paramotor in 97-ish.
Can't blame you.
It was kind of like a boat, you know, your happiest days when you buy it and when you sell it. I kind of felt defeated. And
really?
Yeah. I mean, I'd flown it over a dozen times, but
You tried 300 or 400.
The recipe was, you know, take it out there, talk 2 or 3 people into going out with me, do numerous failures to exhaustion, and you may get lucky and get into the air. And then it was fairly scary until I let off the power and came in and descended and land. Landings always seem to go good. Takeoff's not so much.
That's
So-
pretty much status quo for paramotor flying in general. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, so I was happy to see it go. And so what led me back was, it was a passion. I wanted to overcome it. I wanted to do it. I knew it would be awesome.
Right.
And so I followed the industry. And when I started seeing the YouTube videos, I started following it. And I was looking at the gear, and I was like, and I saw the numbers. I was like, holy cow, they're so much lighter.
They're like
And
half the weight or
look at
less.
the wings. The wings
Yeah.
look like
Actual wings?
real airfoils. And yeah, so I was drawn in. I kept an eye on the sport, and then after I'd retired, I'd gone and done all the fun things that I wanted to do. I wanted, to travel and go to Europe and build a tiny house and do all those fun things. I did them, and I was like, I'm not getting any younger. I'm going to go for this. This is something I want to do, and I'm glad I did. Yeah.
Well, the intriguing thing for me, and this goes back years and years ago, the intriguing thing for me has always been who gets drawn in. I'll always downplay who I am as a person in some ways, because I'm still the dweeby homeschool high school dropout who is deeply passionate about aviation. I have a fair amount of experience in a lot of things, but I lack a lot. But 4 years ago, when Travis came and was willing to work for me and then become my partner, he brought so much insight into how to systemize and build. Every employee we've added has brought something to the table. Everyone has built something that has value, and it's not just for me as a person like that I learn from, but it's in how we treat and respect our clients and how we build the Aviator family. And bringing you in at the time you came with this crazy tumultuous, oh my gosh, what the heck just happened, which is how it was for me.
Yep.
It's been such a blessing, and your passion for sharing your love for flight with our students has been incredible. And watching you go from 2 months ago as a baby pilot, and every time you'd finish a class, you'd go back up to Titusville and you'd fly, and I'd see
Yep.
your post, and you're wearing your balaclava, and you're
Yep.
in your van, and you're like, I found a field, I'm going flying, it's going to be great.
Yep.
To 3 nights ago, you and I were in the field together, and I got to completely defer all judgment to you. And I got to say, Chris, you're the boss. You're the school manager. You have the experience to understand what students need to know. You've been an ultralight flight instructor for forever. And you know what it takes to keep students safe. And I defer to you. And I love that it's an honor to me to watch you grow from baby paramotor pilot to knowing exactly what a student needs, and not just what they need to do as far as like how to fly, but understanding their emotion and having such a
Yep.
deep connection to their needs. It's really beautiful to me, and it's one of the things that makes me feel so inspired as a paramotor flight instructor. I had a conversation with Chad Bastian. Hi, Chad, who's owner of Trike Buggy. He's Ozone Paragliders for California. Great guy. Mini Plane USA. This past weekend, the Paul Bain Fly, and I said, listen, like, I've trained with, out of all the USPPA administrators, which I am one of them, I think there are 6 or 7 now. I've trained with all but 2, I think. Maybe 3. And I told him, I said, Chad, we've got to work together. I want you to come to Florida. Let's write a syllabus together. Let's do something new, because I think we're always trying to push each other forward. And your humility and your drive for care is part of why I was so passionate about having you join the team. And your passion for flying it's inspiring for me. I tonight, so
Awesome.
fun story. What's up? People are pointing.
Bring him in. Let's do it.
I'm bringing him in. I'm bringing him in a minute. I'm going to tell a fun story first.
All right, he's here. He's ready.
I bought a new airplane.
Okay.
Totally cool airplane.
Totally cool airplane. I've wanted this airplane for years. We had a little bit of money left over from selling our house, and I got a great deal. I bought a new airplane, and I took off. And I was like, "Wah!" And Chris comes down here and is like, "Wah!" because I didn't take it flying.
Yep.
But that passion for
But
flight.
I understood why.
Right. Well, I want to make sure I'm safe and competent,
Sure.
and insurance. Yeah. Anyway, but I love your passion for flight, and I love that you get it. And I have a couple questions to bring up before we bring AJ in, and maybe Adam and Catherine and a few others, because we have a crazy week. It has been 50 minutes. How you feeling?
Good.
You did good, dude.
Thanks.
Like, this is not that hard, right?
Not too bad.
It's like there's like all these comments. Why don't you ever see popular power paragliding pilots flying APCO? I can't answer that question in good conscience on Livestream because I've flown only 5 APCO wings. Answer or questions. Wings Everwinter this year. 2019, no. We put in our event application for Wings Overwinter 2019, and we were declined by the city of Lake Wales. We worked everything we possibly could to make it work, and we have had some incredible opportunities now with the FAA, the FSDO, and the ADO to help the city understand what we bring to not just us, but what paramotors in general bring to the community and how it helps aviation in general. So maybe next year. However, with the vast volume of people now flying, fly-ins will have to be limited more, I think. Just because there's too many people. Like, there were 200 plus pilots in Palm Bay last weekend.
Yeah, it gets reckless.
It can become dangerous, and
Yeah.
I think it'd be better to have Wings Everwinter quarterly with 85 pilots maximum than to have one event with 600 people. I would rather see safety be core, just like we do with the school. Like, we would never have 22 students training at once in the same space because it would not be safe. So Wings Everwinter, maybe. This question's for you. Tesla paramotors in the future. Also for John behind the camera.
I'm totally stoked. I definitely see that. I don't know about Elon's involvement or Tesla's involvement, but definitely electric paramotors right around the corner.
Do you have his cell phone number? Can we text him?
I do have his cell phone number. I don't know if...
I'm super
I'm
jealous.
curious if he'd respond, but during the time I worked, it was promoted if you had any issues to contact Elon, and
That's incredible.
he gave us all his personal
How many
cell
employees
phone.
did he have? Or does he
One.
have?
When
Guesstimate.
when I hired in, I was the 32nd employee at the Cape, and I think there was a total of about 400.
So 400 employees with the one
or
boss's
500.
number.
Yeah. And then when I left, there
Wow.
was, what, 5,000? 5,000 employees?
5,000.
Yeah.
Those
He-
stock options, though.
Elon took very good care of
He
the people
does.
that were involved in the beginning.
Well, and that's what our goal is here, too. And as we're adding instructors and we're trying to build things out, like I've been leaning a lot on you for more wisdom on how we can better... I mean, we're never going to make SpaceX money. We fly butt fans. But we want to make sure that we support people and that we really encourage the family atmosphere of how we do this. So we have a very weird business where we share all of our numbers with all of our employees, and everyone is
Yep.
part of the team, and everyone works together to try to make the best thing happen they possibly can. And honestly, like, Elon, if you ever watch this, thank you for teaching this guy a lot because it's taught me a lot. So I was going somewhere with the next question. I actually should read this from Nina because it's a good question, apparently. Let's see what it says. Nina says, we have a question from the podcast, or for the podcast. This is from Jeremy Howell. Eric, it's been a while. I hope things are going well. By the looks of it, Aviator's growing like crazy, which is awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. I'm not sure if this is the right way to ask big questions for the Aviator live stream or not. We're not sure either. We're learning, man.
Yeah.
Every single week we're learning. We're figuring this out. I'm at work when it airs, so I can't watch it live. I want to ask if your new learning management system will be made available to former students. A lot of us took notes during the class, but we could have the actual material. It would be great to use a refresher and reinforce the learnings. So Chris is the school manager. His job is to make sure that what we teach is consistent, is as thorough as possible, and as safe as possible. What we're doing with the LMS is we're basically pre-teaching what we teach now.
Yes.
Whether or not it will be available to previous students is up in the air right now, because right now it's literally going to be hard-coded into a key fob like you used to get for E-Trade, where you
Yep.
have to punch in your number by the second because we have so much content to make for this.
Yep.
And if you guys had any idea of how much expense it takes to get to this point, it's like if you wanted to buy 25 of the airplanes that I just bought.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a lot.
So pirating would be bad.
Pirating would be really bad, and not
Really
just
bad.
not just bad for us. Pirating would be so bad for the community because our concern, even releasing the kiting video, was if we release this video, what if people go and self-train with it and kill themselves?
Yep.
Because learning how to kite's awesome, and it teaches you 60% of what you need to know how to kite or how to launch.
Just enough to be dangerous.
Just not to be dangerous. So how do we balance that? And in fact, our biggest blowback when we first released that was people who were instructors who were furious that how dare we teach something so dangerous. And we said, listen, like people are doing it anyway. Like people are already making this decision to do something foolish. Like how do we help them not do it in a way that's going to kill them? That's why we have all the safety stuff. So the LMS for us is a huge expense. And we'd love to be in a position where we could say like, yeah, we'll give it to all our past students, but our biggest priority is making sure it doesn't end up in the wrong hands where someone tries to teach themselves and hurts themselves. All right, we're going to take can we do a 30-second break, John? "30-second break, guys. We're going to bring in some new guests. I got to catch my breath. I have not swallowed in 12 minutes. Corey, Robin, hi, good to see you. Everybody else, much love. I'm going to bring AJ and Catherine into the chat so we can have some conversations about what it's like to learn to fly, what it's like to be a female pilot, and what it's like to be live on ESPN flying at 120 miles an hour with no pants. See you in a minute. Are we back? Awesome. I have snacks because I haven't eaten since breakfast. let me introduce the people who are here with us now. We have Catherine.
Hello.
Or just Kate. Just Kate's Journey on Instagram. And we have AJ, who, yeah, you're kind of a legend.
I don't think I'd say that.
You gotta scoot close. You gotta face each other, face the microphone.
Oh, boy.
You can get close. Your wife's watching. It's okay.
She's right over there, guys.
So AJ, if you guys have seen it, I can't play the B-roll because I did not prep John for this. We have an incredible video you and I filmed together. Was it last October?
Yeah.
Last November?
Yeah, it was last November-ish.
It was insane. Chris, would you kill the AC? Because my nipples are hard. It's chilly in here now.
TMI.
So AJ was a DRL racer. You flew on ESPN. You flew all over the world racing not micro quads, but mini quads.
Yeah.
How fast do they go?
The ones we race on TV are around 80-ish.
In a real one?
The ones that we have at home, I mean, realistically, like 120. Yeah.
Okay. And
just depends.
last year, you signed up for training, and you were all set.
Yeah.
How's the audio, guys? Can you guys hear us? We're good? All right. So Akbots, or AJ, was one of the best DRL racers out there, in my opinion. My favorite, anyway. Oh. And you saw paramotoring. What did you think? What brought you where you are now?
Yeah, you guys, Paradigm showed up in an event in Ohio where I was living at the time, which we attended. And I was instantly like, what the hell is this? You guys were doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and I was instantly sold. And I came up and approached you, and I was like, hey, man, please trust me with your life. I'm good at what I do. Just let me fly my drone around you. And he let me, and then he goes...
It scared me so much the first time.
Yeah. He didn't know who I was. He had to radio over to the guys and said, who is this guy?
I was like, can he actually fly, or is he going to kill me?
So then he approached me afterwards, and he said, you got to come back and do this again.
Yes.
At Aviator.
Yep.
And I was sold. And I ended up doing, and then when I came here, I realized how achievable this is, and that it was actually what I dreamed of as a kid all my life. This is what I was dreaming of. The whole flapping the arms and everything, you know? And then he let me fly around him again, and Kyle.
And he flew
drones.
between my lines.
Flew between the lines.
At 100 miles an hour.
And I also told him afterwards, I was like, I don't ever let anyone else do this again. I realized how crazy it was, but, you know, they knew what they're doing.
What RPM does a quad turn at? Like,
over 10,000.
So 10,000 plus RPM, 4-inch propellers slicing through Kevlar lines like they're butter, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
I didn't die. Yet. He's going to have to do it again soon.
Yeah, that sold me on the whole thing, man. Like, it's amazing. So, and here I am now after pretty much completing training. I'm pretty confident with what you guys have taught me, and there's a motor literally sitting over there with my name on it. And I can't wait to break it out in the morning and start working on it and get it flying up in the air.
So you're day 8 of actual training, kind of the 2 other days we've had. Mm-hmm. Tell me about, because I wanted this episode to be about Chris, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
To share his story and to share all of our passion for aviation. Tell me about what it's been like to train doing this, not being a pilot before, aside from flying drones. Tell me what it felt like your first flight and where you are now with 27 flights?
24.
24. How many touch and goes?
Most of them are touch and goes.
This guy's a beast. His wing overs are like way better than mine were after 6 months, and it's annoying to me. So, yeah.
Yeah. The whole thing has been so much more than I expected. And to be honest with you, I was expecting a lot. You guys have a lot of videos, and that's what sold me on coming here, you know. Eric's subtle voice. When he launches people off into the air the very first time, that's what sold me. You know, I don't need people barking orders at me. I need someone to give me confidence. And that sold me on the whole thing. And then when I got here, I felt like I was so much more and over-prepared for my first flight than what I was anticipating. And the ground school, the syllabus, it really inspired confidence. Breaking every single piece of it down, it just feels very professional. So when I was ready for that first flight, I felt over-prepared, and I wasn't really scared at all. You know, I felt like my life was in perfect people's hands. You know, like I trusted you guys, and so I wasn't scared at all through this whole process.
You're maniacal.
Until my first few landings, and I realized, okay, this is going to be a little harder than I was anticipating.
Your landings are beautiful now.
Well, with you guys coaching.
No, you just have to learn to land like a girl.
Oh,
This one nailed it every
Yeah.
time.
thanks.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to jump to Catherine in a minute, but before I do, I want to ask you a question from 577 Sun Jersey Custom. There's so many answers there, or words there. We have two different product lines now available, which is weird, right? Before we had air conception or air conception, and you could choose which one you wanted. Now, because the motors are the same, we wanted to go to a more systemized review and everything else. A lot of different people are trying to decide what they want. You say you have a motor over here. What'd you get? Why'd you choose that? And how do you feel about the decision? And tomorrow you'll fly it, and we can have an update to this video, I guess.
Yeah. I went with the Fly Products with the Moster 185 with the E-Start.
Okay.
Honestly, for me, it was a toss-up. You know, I've been looking at both machines all 10 days now, I guess, and I couldn't decide, to be honest. I almost had to flip a coin, but I feel like I like the harness a little bit better in the Fly Products. The color scheme I like better. I like white and orange. I'm a KTM guy, so...
There it is.
Yeah. No,
Now,
but...
if you flew Yamaha,
Yeah, right. But I like how it breaks down. The E-Start option was a great choice. I did like the look of the titanium, and I know I did butt land 2 or 3 times on the
his
Maverick.
first 2 or 3 landings, he got better.
Yeah, so I knew it could take a beating, but I feel pretty confident with the Fly Products so that it'll hold up just as well, and the looks. And I think it's just the E-Start is what really sold me on it, and Chris let me sit in his, and I think it sold me.
Well, the other side too is you've had a lot of knee injuries in your life. You're a big, avid dirt bike guy, and the opportunity to add the Foxy trike for 19.5 pounds to be able to launch on a trike is a really nice option.
Yep.
One other thing I want to talk to you about with you until later is you're one of the few who watched our kiting video, because initially, when were you supposed to train here the first time?
We're supposed to be here February 2018.
And then what happened?
2 weeks before I was coming to training, I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus. I sent Eric a picture in the emergency room, and I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on. They won't tell me if it's, they wouldn't tell me anything. And I had to eventually go to an orthopedic and find out what had happened. But that was extremely heartbreaking. But, it all worked out great.
Pretty sure Mary was more upset with you than you were upset with yourself because you missed class.
Yeah, I was pretty bummed.
Yeah, well, and the cool thing has been that you got to come now, and knowing your injuries and everything else, having a trike or a foot launch and you can trike if you have to is awesome. So I'm really glad you did that. But what that created the opportunity for was you already had to order your wing. So as soon as you healed up, we got to do something that we're working on for the future, which is helping all of our future students have a mentor to help them learn how to kite, whether using the kiting video and then meeting up with a local. Having that opportunity has really been cool, and I'll never forget Chris's face. Your first day of training here in house, and he's like, the dude's laying on his back. Like, he's literally laying on his back, kiting right now. He's kited for like 6 to 8 hours before he got here, and he can kite perfectly. What the heck? How'd that feel?
I mean, I thought I didn't have enough experience, so I felt good. It made everything easier.
Yeah.
I mean,
Golden boy.
Plus, plus I was able to have fun at home and kind of, get the feel for it, and made me more confident being here.
That's awesome.
When I did get here, so yeah, I would encourage that. I mean, the training video that you guys provide is really good, and I did watch it like a dozen times before I actually tried. And then when I got out there, I was like, wait, what? I had to pull my phone out while I'm hooked in and
sending me Facebook messages like, did I hook in right?
Yeah.
All right, 2 last questions. One is the difference between flying this and flying drones, and actually being in the air versus feeling like you're in the air. And 2, what are you most looking forward to?
Honestly, I would say it's very comparable to drones. The only thing is I actually feel the air in my face, and it's not just a sensation that I have whenever I'm doing it. It's real, and it's so much better. It's amazing. I'm not able to fly through tree branches and gates at 100 miles an hour, but it's better. It's everything about it's better.
Yeah,
and,
we'll get you there.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say next. Is that's what I'm looking forward to doing. Is have more confidence flying close to the ground, around objects. And it is harder than I anticipated in that regard, but it's already amazing. And I've never been so obsessed with anything in my entire life.
Sorry, Bailey.
Yeah. Yeah.
his
And
wife.
by the way, she's the one that just bought me that motor, so she doesn't even know what she just did.
So AJ's going to be joining us as an intern instructor in the future, looking toward potentially becoming an instructor here or at his own school. And it's one of the things we try to do is we always want to give back to the community, and we want to encourage people who learn to fly to really be inspired to share it with others. And I think it was day 4 or 5 of your training, I turned to Chris and I said, AJ's got it. If he wants to teach this someday, he has the right passion, he has the right depth of heart, and that's something that's huge for us. So I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to have you back here for next month's class and to help teach you to become a teacher if it's what you decide to follow, because I think it's an amazing opportunity. I really do.
Thank you. You have no idea how ecstatic I am. Like, yeah.
Not bad, right?
Man, it's what these guys say is so true. Is I didn't anticipate it being like this. I thought it was a marketing thing, but like this really is a family, and they do care. And it's not just videos that get posted to, like, it's behind the scenes. It's everywhere. It's just like love, and like, how could you not want to be a part of something like this? You know,
It's a great group of people, man. We're like, every class that comes through, I feel like my heart grows another size bigger. And it sounds cheesy as heck, and yes, you guys can make fun of me, but it's really, really good. I agree. It's a great family, and I'm thankful for each of you. Speaking of family.
Speaking of.
All right, so just to shift gears, and I wish I could get John on camera, but I know he's working on the behind-the-scenes stuff. But this week we've had 2 monumental occasions. One, we had Catherine take her first flight, and then the very next day, we had John take his first flight. And so it's 2 members of our staff, 2 members of our team who got to learn to fly, take their first flights, and become excellent at it, except for John, because he already was excellent, and I kind of hate him for it. That's not a nice word, but I agree with you. The dude is so good, it's obnoxious. So, John, thanks for being behind the camera tonight. Like, woo, you're rocking it. He said woo. I'm not sure if you guys could hear it. The story behind our family is kind of intriguing, and I'd love to have you gloss over the bullet points from what led us from you being my little sister, who I still see of as 8, and it freaks me out that you're a grown-up, to coming to work here, and what happened when you realized that you could learn to fly for free as an employee. Just talking to the microphone.
Okay. Gosh, where do I even begin?
You were born on a cold, dark night.
I was found in a box on the side of 27. That's actually how that happened. No,
I've seen your siblings. That's not true.
they just told me I was lucky that happened.
Don't swivel.
Don't swivel.
Sorry, it's a nervous tick. Jeez. Okay, so our families grew up together essentially through homeschooling and a bunch of different groups, and mostly just homeschooling.
Right.
I actually didn't see much of Eric growing up much. He was just the older.
I'm 15 years older than her.
Yeah, so he was a little bit on the sidelines, but he was always, the big brother that would pick me up occasionally. As I got older, I definitely saw a lot more of him. I knew he was doing a lot of really cool stuff with aviation. I always thought it was super freaking cool. Never saw it as a possibility for myself, but I also kind of idolized it in its own little category.
It's a beautiful thing.
That's an understatement, but yes, it is. After I started here with Aviator, PPG, 2 weeks ago now? Mm-hmm. I never thought I would actually fly. It didn't even cross my mind.
Let me tell the story really quick about this, because she needed a place to live, and we have an RV we've always used for students. And I said, listen, if you want to come rent the RV for students, your family, I got you. My brother married her sister, right? We're literally family. And then I said, well, if you want to work it off, we can always use odd jobs, right? We have work to be done. And I brought her into Alex. Alex can use her help. And Alex is like, I could use her full time. So that's how it happened.
That worked out very nicely for me. But so anyway, so after, like he just said, after that all went down, I was very blessed with this awesome opportunity just to be here, because I love these people to death. It's amazing, especially the farewells. And after I got started, it just kind of escalated. Then Eric was like, oh, yeah, by the way, so this is part of the benefits. And I was like, whoa, that's going to take forever for me to do. And just a couple of days later, I'm in the air, and it kind of happened out of nowhere.
And normally it would take forever, but you got so passionate about it. This girl was coming into work at 6 o'clock in the morning and then leaving at 10 o'clock at night so she could get all the ground school and the simulator and the towing and everything else done. And it was so inspiring to watch, because quite frankly, it may sound sexist, but all the instructors have taken you under their wing like a little sister.
Yeah.
They're all so passionate
amazing.
about like inspiring you to be who you could be. And Ross and Ron and Chris and everybody, Fletch, everyone loves you. It's amazing to watch you fly.
It's been pretty cool.
What is it? 3 days ago, you had your first flight.
Saturday night? Friday night?
Saturday.
I feel like I should remember this.
Tell me about it. How did it feel?
I wish I could explain it. I honestly was not scared. I was more excited and enthralled and thrilled than anything else. After I almost mowed the ground, it was fine.
That did happen, but she pulled it off.
I defied gravity, as Ron Turan likes to put it. It was truly amazing. I can't explain what that felt like. There was nothing. I can't explain it. I wish I could. I wish I could find the words just how amazing that was. So thank you.
I love
for
that your dad came
opportunity.
out and watched you. It made
That
my
was
heart
pretty
so
cool.
happy.
That made my heart happy.
My dad and her dad have been best friends for 20 years, basically. And it's been so neat to see how, as a father myself, you're always intrigued as to how you're going to become in your older age. And watching her dad be so freaking proud of her, it was like you could have pinched him and he wouldn't believe it. It was so cool. So cool. And then after that, we dialed in your hang points. You got everything perfectly set up. Now you're launching like a boss. It's almost obnoxious, and most of us hate you.
I'm sorry.
What does it feel like to be one of maybe 15 female paramotor pilots in the U.S., and you're 18 years old?
Unreal. Bizarre.
Yeah?
But amazing and kind of cool.
If you could talk
Super
to
awesome.
aspiring female pilots, what would you say?
Go for it.
All right, more than that.
Well, I mean, if it's something if it's something you're interested in and it's something you want to do, and if it's available, which it's available here,
Yeah.
so set a goal, reach it.
Do you feel like it's physically attainable?
Yes,
Was it super hard for you?
not at all.
No.
Honestly, short story. I tried to carry a laundry basket to my car, and that was a lot harder than flying. So you can ask my sister-in-law, Sarah. She was dying laughing because I told her, I was like, if I can walk to my car holding this laundry basket overflowing with billions of things, which was a lot harder than flying. I was like, you can do it. It's possible. And she was like, I don't know. She's like, I really want to. And I was like, no, really, because this is a lot
She's
harder
doing
than
it.
flying.
She's one of my best friends. She's doing it. You know that's happening, right?
Sarah?
Yes, for
Good.
sure. She has to
Better.
fly.
One day.
For
She'll
sure.
get there.
Well,
But-
I'm glad to hear that. I'm going to go to the back of the room and answer any questions we have. I had an interesting question there. Why in the U.S. would you go to work with Power to Fly or with Fly Products instead of Power to Fly? Power to Fly is based in Spain. Fly Products is based in Italy. I'm not sure why it makes a difference if you're in the U.S. Power to Fly's motors are extremely similar to the much older or much more, what's the right word? More experienced Fly Products. They look about the same. I have nothing against the Power to Fly guys. In fact, I met quite a few of their pilots at Kupikar. Lydia, hello. Fantastic people. We chose to work with Fly Products because we really respect their engineering and what their support is like, what their actual customer support and valuation is. That's really important to us in making sure that we're working with the very best people, period. Any other questions we can answer? Because it has been a really long podcast now. I'm losing my voice. This is bad. But I was also flying an airplane an hour and a half ago, and I'm really happy about it.
Congratulations, by the way. It's a badass plane.
Dude, it's so fast. I bought a 1993 Vans RV6, and it's freaking amazing. I love it. Let's see. Any other questions? Looking. You guys have got to scroll faster. How was your climb rate with the top 80 on the 24-meter all-up weight 115? I don't know which wing he's flying. I can't answer that question. AJ is a student and Kat is a new employee. Yes, that's correct, Ross. Ross, good to see you in here. Hey, big shout out to Todd Scandrett. Anyone who's watching this video, if you own a business or you make more than $5 a year, please consider making a donation to Resurgence PPG. It's fully tax write-off, a full possibility of tax deduction for your taxes, and it's for a great cause. He does great things for the paramotor community as well as the wounded combat veteran community as well. Sandra says, I love the kiting video because I remember hearing you don't know what you don't know. And also speaking of picking up bad habits when self-training. Absolutely. Using the kiting video to help eliminate those self-training mistakes is a very important thing. Paulin says that old men like him need a trike option. Yes, AJ too. And me.
I hope I got a few years left in me, but yeah.
I don't know, man. There are days where I literally am like, all right, hook the trike up. I'm going to go. Just because it adds 18 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever it is. And it actually, with my little tiny wing, it barrel rolls better because I can get more momentum over the top.
18 pounds is what I ate last night, so that's nothing.
I have so many things I could say to this. Manuel says, foot launching and flying is not for everyone. How and when do you determine a student is fit for flying? That's actually a great question. Manuel Flores, the big thing for us is that if you physically have the ability to foot launch, and that's what your goal is, we'll absolutely encourage it. Our baseline is usually between 45 and 55 years old, and it depends on your height and weight and your physical endurance. If you are really physically fit and 65 years old and you're like a freaking rock star that's running half marathons, you can foot launch. If you're 44 years old and you smoke 2 packs a day and you're 100 pounds overweight, you're going to be in a way worse position. It's really about how you control yourself. And like AJ and I had a lot of conversations, like how do we balance habits and experiences and injuries? And there is no wrong answer. I think that's something that people really mistake, is that they think that flying a trike is a bad thing. It's not.
I'd like to say that I think once you learn it may be, and you have the techniques down. We were talking
Right.
about this earlier. Once you have the techniques, it's possible, but you know, you got to have those techniques. Otherwise, it's just going to be extremely exhausting. You know, end up maybe possibly giving up before you get to that point and have to go to the trike. But
Absolutely. When I think that people look at the trike, I don't know why this is, I think it's really flawed. They look at the trike as being a defeatist way of doing things. The reality is, I would much rather fly a trike probably 70% of the days in no wind and with my back. It's like I'd much rather fly a trike because I get off the ground 99.9% of the time instead of 95% of the time. And I'm a good pilot. I mean, I've flown thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and I still fail launches. And it's not something that I'm proud of. It's not something I'm like not proud of. It's just reality. We all fail launches. It's not easy. And so using a trike as a stepping stone to either going to foot launch or using foot launch as a stepping stone to go to trike is not a negative thing. It's all how you look at it. And it could actually be really empowering to realize that you can fly every day instead of having to limit yourself to the times you can and cannot.
I think my perception of trikes, and because I felt the same way, was they're too big and bulky, and it's going to change the flight altogether. But once I got here and saw this trike that you guys have, I was like, oh, well, what's wrong with this? This is
Right.
fine. Like,
You have the same hook-in points. It's so easy.
It's just like I said, a meal. You know.
Exactly.
So.
You eat some hella meals, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you guys put me through some hell of training.
Dizzy asks, can my wife and I come and train with your team? Absolutely. It's actually worth bringing up. We are now down to, I believe we just filled our September class, our first September class. We have a second September class that still has 3 slots available, and we're booking. We'll start putting together dates and times next month for the rest of the year and into the spring of 2020. So if you guys are looking at training, we love to train husbands and wives. We've taught a lot of them. In fact, of our female pilots we've trained, I'd say 90% have been towed along by their spouse. So most of them ended up being better pilots than their husbands, and that sounds like an untruth, but it's absolutely the truth, and they loved it more. John, do you have a question? You were stretching. What do you think is the future of Part 1 and 3? Matthew Peace. I want to be respectful of time, but excuse me. We've had a really unique opportunity to have great interactions with the FAA, both because of the scale of our business and the number of students we train here at Lake Wales Airport, the students we train at 5 other airports around the country and in Central America, which has nothing to do with the FAA, but also especially because of our opportunities with the Paradigm team, where we're flying at air shows all over the U.S., the biggest air shows in the world. And what we've found very intriguing is the FAA, and this is through formal complaints that we've had to make against the city, and lots of different things we've done to try to better the paramotor community to ensure the furtherance of flying at public airports. First off, we've won them all. The FAA has come on our side. They've agreed that what we're doing is the right thing, and being able to do an aeronautical activity at an airport is what the airport's built for. It's what they give it federal funding for. I'm not sure that tomorrow the FAR 103 will exist. If we keep seeing the growth we see, the only way that this part of the FARs will exist is if we all band together and we work to police ourselves. It's to encourage one another to fly graciously and respectfully, to be courteous, to not be of the opinion that you can do whatever you want because you have the right, to apologize when you make a mistake, to try to educate yourself as best as possible, to get great training that explains the regulations, that explains the airspace, that explains all these things that are so crucial. That to me is the only way we'll keep this super limited scheme. And there are parts of me that, like, I've flown all over the world, and there are parts of me, and I'll tell you guys, like, you go to Czech Republic and you want to fly across downtown city streets between the cathedrals, you can stay at 300 meters and you're legal. And that's amazing. We can't do that here, right? Now, they have annual inspections, 100-hour inspections. They have a more strenuous training program. It's not what America wants. You know, in theory, we always want freedom. We want to be the most free we can be, and I totally respect that. But there are parts of me that kind of wishes I could pay $100 to have a 100-hour inspection and then go fly through downtown Orlando if it was safe to. Like, that would be cool, you know? So I think that FAR 103 is totally viable and a great way for our community to work, as long as we work to protect it ourselves. And that's really the crucial element. And I think that we're in that position right now. Let's see. Johnny Hour, do we have an alliance member on the West Coast? No, we do not. We have one in Texas. We have one in Costa Rica. We have one in Indiana. Those are your closest. We will hopefully eventually have more alliance members or more Aviator training centers, which we're actually working on doing more and more of that, being able to share our staff and our systems, not just as an alliance member where they do things pretty much exactly the same way, but as Aviator centers that do things exactly the way we do. And we really are looking forward to that with guys like Chris really helping us to hone in on everything we've done and direct where we're going. It's a big deal to us. So West Coast is on the plan. So is Europe. So is Central America. We want to do more and more. Anything else? Have we considered trike with Paradigm? Andrew Everts. Dude, stop reading my emails. We're working on a fully coordinated fireworks show with a multi-member, could be as many as 15-member Paradigm Act. There's a lot of possibilities in the future. We're just waiting for the right opportunity. We're hoping for Oshkosh 2019. We'll see what happens. And Dennis, if you're watching this, Dennis Dunbar, somebody tag him. Let him know we want to do this. We've been working on it. We have the technology. We just need the opportunity. Let's see. PPG Bobfather says the only drawback he's seen is foot launching when there's winds of 5 to 12 miles per hour. If you are triking and you are an experienced pilot and you have the right training, you can trike in every condition that you can foot launch in. It's more challenging mentally, but it's totally done, like, doable. I can reverse a trike in 15-mile-an-hour wind. You have to think about it a lot. You have to work on your kiting skills, but it's totally doable. And there's some incredible pilots like Bobby Ben that can make it look easy. So no problem. All right. One more question. Give it to me. I want to go home. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Seriously, I appreciate you putting up with us. Chris, back there, thank you. I'm really excited for people to get to know Chris better. We're going to do a video with him very soon about why he chose Fly Products for his personal unit. We're going to have some videos about why I chose Parajet. We've got lots of great films coming up, lots of new opportunities, and I can't wait to share more flying stuff because I've got some great flying videos I think we're going to be able to release very soon. This one's a quick one. Dreeklock, any chance you can get your new partners to improve their warranty? 1 year isn't very appealing as a customer. Let's address that over the next few weeks. The one thing I want to leave you with on the warranty subject is very crucial, and it's that a warranty in numbers only does not a warranty make. If I tell you that you have a 25-year warranty on your brand new Parajet, and you break it in 1 minute or 24 and a half years, what matters is how the warranty is honored. And that was a huge deal for us when selecting new partners. Quite frankly, it was really important to us to select a partner that would honor their word and that would go above and beyond everything they do, and not blame the customer, not tell them it was impossible, not tell them that they did something wrong. They would analyze and put the customer's needs first. So while a 1 year warranty may not sound as good as a 2 or a 5 or a 25, a 1 year warranty that parts are actually honored and that support is actually honored is way more valuable than a 50-year warranty that's not. We are working on some opportunities and options to do something special for Aviator customers that would be a warranty offered by us. But I want just to be very, very clear that you have to consider who's honoring your warranty. In our last 7 years in business, we've realized that we've honored between 15 and 40% of our warranty claims we honor in-house that will never be honored by the manufacturers. We honor it because we value our customers. and that's actually a very low number for the accurate, depending on which brand. We've had some brands be much more honorable than others, but time is not the thing that matters as much as will your manufacturer actually honor it. Hosting any fly-ins soon? Not right now. Sorry, guys. New airport management. We don't have any plans here. I expect to be at the Endless Foot Drag in Kansas in May. We'll be at Sun and Fun in April here in Lakeland, Florida, or just over the town, next town over. We'll be at Oshkosh in July, end of July. And we'll be at a incredible balloon fest in, I can't remember the name of the county. Do you remember? Anybody remember the name of the county? It doesn't matter. It's near Scranton. It's where Dunder Mifflin is.
Yeah, nice.
So we'll be there in September. We have some other opportunities and events coming up, as well as being at Viterazzi Days in Italy at the end of August. That's right. All right.
BT Dubs.
BT Dubs.
BT Dubs. The new
Hit me.
helmets. If you're on the fence, just grab it because those things are pretty dope.
You like it?
Yeah, I like them.
Did you get one?
I wish I can't. I just got a motor,
you on the
man.
fence?
Like,
Come on! You're
I
gonna
want
go without
one.
a helmet? You're gonna be like flying naked?
can we go apply for some more credit, baby?
Oh, speaking of which, and this is a huge announcement that we'll make a video about. AJ is our first in-house financing client
Actually,
from
Bailey.
Aviator Financing. Yeah, so Bailey's the trendsetter. It was released today. We finally have financing in-house. So if you've been looking and been on the fence about buying new equipment or getting your equipment for the first time, we can help take care of you. 6 months, same as cash, with a 3% origination or really reasonable fees otherwise. So it's coming. There's so many more comments. Oh my gosh. Guys, I love you all. I'm going to cut out because it's been a really long time. And if you guys would like to have more questions in the comments, feel free to email us. You can find us at info@aviatorppg.com. For questions for next week, we'll go through and select them, as well as keeping track of the live stream. Huge thank you to Chris, Katie, and AJ. And if you guys want to follow them, you can find him at... Are you on social media anywhere?
Yeah, I'm still on Instagram.
Okbots?
At Okbots, yeah.
At Okbots, at Just Kate's Journey. And we'll put the stuff in the description of the videos. Guys, feel free to stay in contact with us. Very, very much love and many thanks to all of you. Sorry I'm losing my voice, and we'll see you very soon. Have a great one. So long.
Peace.